Hey, my name is Frank, and this is what we did last night. Alright, so last week we got snowed in, or iced in, or whatever, and we couldn't do our normal midweek functions. But this week, we're able to start the series that we've been trying to get excited for the past 2 months called You on the Wednesday. And so I've been saying this for the past couple months. I've been tagging as the very last thing every single week, that this thing called You on the Wednesday is a variation of a product that DYM has called You on the Weekend. That is a thing that they do over at Saddleback, and obviously a ton of other churches now that I'm aware of, that the students run the service. And let me kind of clarify what that means, because a lot of you guys have been messaging me privately. What do you mean by students running the service? What I mean is this. I literally do nothing on Wednesday night. When I come in here on Wednesday night, I am like a student. I just sit there and watch and enjoy. In fact, actually, I'm sitting in the back of the sound booth watching and enjoying. But from the intro videos, countdown videos, music, funny videos, game, worship, prayer, Bible verse reading, sermon, clothes, everything is run by the students. And it's amazing. And let me give you real quick 3 or 4 reasons why I love You on the Wednesday, right? Number one, I get to have some much needed time to work on the missions trip that I got going on. I got lock-in in a month. These different things are future events that need my attention and time that I can't really find much space during the week because I'm working on Wednesday night. And so this month has opened up the opportunity for me to work very deeply into our mission trip, into our summer camp, into our lock-in in about a month. All these type of things that I need to give my attention to, I'm free to do it now. And so it's been amazing to have this free time to not focus on Wednesday night, but to focus on that kind of stuff. The second thing is this, is that it gives our volunteer leaders that one more opportunity, the extra opportunity to not just be chaperones and extra eyes and ears for me, but to be engaged leaders in the lives of these students, to be like little youth pastors to these kids. And so our leaders, because I've assigned a leader to a group, every leader has to text them, call them, meet up with them, review stuff with them. They've been able to be in the lives of the students one step more than they could have been beforehand because of how intrinsically involved our small group leaders are in this program called You on the Wednesday. And then another thing is that the kids have an opportunity to see what youth ministry is like. What is behind the curtain, behind what I do and what all our volunteers leaders do, what we do every single day to prepare for Wednesday night. Our kids have 2.5 months to prepare for their Wednesday night. And what they have to do in 2.5 months, we do in 6 days every single week, turning around every single Wednesday. And so we get lots of comments after every You on the Wednesday saying, your job is a lot harder than I thought it was. Man, preaching a sermon every week, I don't know how you do it. How do you get your worship, man, to be ready every single week? It took us 2 months. All these type of things I hear so often. Not to pat myself in the back, but to give these students more of appreciation of the youth ministry they're in, to understand this isn't something we just kind of make up at the Wednesday morning, and for them to have some value and interest and some kind of like stock in our youth group, because us leaders care about these kids, and we put a lot of work, a lot of effort into making sure that Wednesday night experience is amazing for them. And the last thing, the biggest reason why I love You on the Wednesday is because we get to see our students talk about Jesus. There's something about having our kids go on stage and talk about what they've learned from the Bible when they get to preach it, when they get to read a Bible verse that means a lot to them, have them engaged in the ministry in a way that they've never have before, and talk about what they actually believe in. I think that's crazy powerful. Their messages aren't going to be something crazy like a Matt Chandler sermon or super deep like John Piper, but when they talk about their faith and their walk with Jesus, it means so much more to their peers than if I said the same exact thing, even deeper, right? Like, it's something powerful about students leading students towards Jesus. I love this series. It can be a chore to put together, but it's totally worth it when you get it done. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what they did last night, and I will say I did have a little bit of involvement. You're not completely out of the picture when it comes to You on the Wednesday, but I'll say this. My involvement for their Wednesday night is way less than a normal Wednesday night when I'm running the service. So here's what they did last night. They started off with our Narrow Road playlist. They didn't add any songs. I gave them permission to take away and add songs if they wanted to, but they liked the playlist, so they played our Narrow Road playlist, and then around about 3 minutes before we were going to start, they started a countdown video, which was just a goofy Miranda Sings video where she covers I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys. Miranda Sings has some pretty good clean songs or clean videos that are pretty funny, and I've showed one a couple weeks ago, and they love Miranda Sings. Specifically, this group has a girl who's obsessed with her, and so that was their countdown video. For their funny video, they showed an Edwin's Corner video. If you're not familiar with who Edwin's Corner is, make sure you just go on YouTube and check out Edwin's Corner because it's some of the weirdest, funniest, goofiest stuff you'll ever see. I believe Student Life came out with Edwin's Corner series a few years ago for the Student Life camps, and it's just one of those like really goofy, funny things that is guaranteed to get a laugh in your youth group. We showed the classic Paper Matchy video, which is probably the most memorable of the Edwin series videos, Edwin's Corner videos. So make sure you check that out. I'll put a link below. And so our kids actually got really lucky because we built a GAGA pit for our lock-in that's going to be in a month, and it happened to be done really early because the guy who made it was awesome. And I'll put a link to the plans down below, and because if you're in the Facebook group, you saw the plans, and they're really, really simple. And my guy made this GAGA pit in for $177. So it's less than 200 bucks. You can make your own GAGA pit. It's very pragmatic and minimal. There's nothing fancy. We didn't paint it or do anything like that. I'm not sure if it would even survive outside though, because it's not cured or have any kind of thing to protect it from the elements. But we just have it in our youth room, and it looks like a little like rooster fighting, little bit pin thing like that. But the students loved it, and so we just happened to have it done this week, and the leader who was for their small group, for their group that ran the Wednesday, made it. So they were like, I'll have it done by then. And so we played Gaga Ball. And so if you don't know what Gaga Ball is, it's a classic outdoor, or I guess indoor youth ministry game. It's like, I define it as like dodgeball, but safer and way faster. And so you Google Gaga Ball, has nothing to do with Lady Gaga. Some people call it Octoball. And if you can make a Gaga pit or an octopit or whatever, octopit, it's funny. An octopit, it's the next Foursquare. It's the next whatever. It's a fun game for the kids, and our kids loved it. We played Gaga Ball for like 15 minutes, and no one got tired. They did girls only game, a guys only game. I'm just a little mad they didn't do a leaders only game, but it doesn't matter. It was their Wednesday. They could do whatever they want. So we play Gaga Ball, super simple game, but you'll need some stuff to build it, or I guess you can turn over tables, but your maintenance people might not like that. So they made their own worship team, and nobody on their worship team, except the bass player, is on the normal worship team. And so they kind of put this together. And what I love about this is also an opportunity to see who are the people that should be in your worship team that are just too shy to be on your worship team and are only on the worship team because it's only one day a year. And so we had some 2 girls in our youth group who always say they can't sing, and they sing beautifully. So we had an awesome little ragtag worship team together, and the 3 songs they did was Jesus Paid It All, You Won't Relent, and Give Me Faith. It was an amazing worship time, and one thing I encourage them, because worship can be difficult because not everyone is musically talented. Sometimes they have to find their friends that don't go to our church to come to our church to play instruments, to play music, and it can be kind of a difficult thing to find a worship team. My biggest piece of advice was keep it simple. You don't have to be like Hillsong or Passion. Just keep it simple. Don't try to do too much. If it's just in the guitar and a bunch of vocals, that's great. Just worship, and that's kind of the thing we're trying to push, is just worship. Don't try to make it more complicated. I think at first this group wanted to do a beautiful eulogy rap song, and I said, guys, just relax, keep it simple. You don't have to make it too crazy. Just go up there and do some songs and lead our students in worship. And so they did, and it was a great night. And so the ultimate topic that they're going to speak about was about faith. And so they had 2 guys do 12-minute sets of topics about 2 people that they believe in the Bible showed great faith. One talked about Paul and Job, and the other one was David and Stephen from the New Testament. So it was cool. The ultimate, like, one guy's ultimate point was faith is never actionless. It always shows action. So David demonstrated his faith by defeating Goliath and trusting God that he could beat Goliath with some pebbles, right? And then Stephen demonstrated his faith all the way to the point of death, that he would not stop talking and preaching the message of Christ, even though he knows his death was looming. And so he said that very passionate and important speech he said in Acts 7, though he knew it would cost him his life. And so one student talked about how faith always shows action, that faith without works is dead. Faith is always demonstrated by your life. And the second student, he talked about how no one's perfect, and that we're going to go through difficult times, even sometimes by our own mistakes. We bring in the difficult times, we bring in the suffering, but we're still called to have faith in God. And that if we put our faith in the Lord, He doesn't promise us a life that's going to be easy or better, but you get to go through everything with Christ. And putting your faith in Christ is that benefit, that the benefit of this relationship is that you have Jesus when you go through these difficult times, even when the difficult times is brought on by yourself. And so I thought these two ideas were extremely mature topics in the sense that it's not every student comes with these thoughts. Like, not every student understands easily that having faith through suffering is worth it because you have Jesus going through the suffering, or the fact that that your faith has to be demonstrated through your actions. I think these are very mature topics in the sense that, like, I don't think many of these kids come up with these thoughts by themselves. And like I said, the only thing I did for these students was to review their message for them and make sure they didn't say anything heretical. And no one said anything heretical. The only thing I did for these students is I told one student, hey, I need you to add a personal example, because this is good in theory, but what does this look like in real life? And so one student added a personal example where he went through a dark time in his life where he was doubting God and was depressed, and said, if God's always present, if God's always there, and He always has our best interest in mind for those who are in Christ, and we feel distance from God, it's not God that moves, but us that moved. And I thought that was incredibly awesome and a great example. And I encourage them to understand this. If all of our students hear the same message from me, they're going to be like, okay, great, I understand it, we should have faith. But when they hear it from someone their age, someone they can relate to, someone that's 15, 16 years old, and they can say, this is how my faith has affected my life, that's going to impact our students way more. And so this is why I love You on the Wednesday. It's a great opportunity to challenge your students, to move them from just spectators to invested people in your ministry, and to see kids talk about Jesus and lead other kids to Jesus. It's a great opportunity, a great time. So that was just this week. It's only been 1 week. I still have 2 more weeks of this. And I'm excited to see how it's going to go. There's going to be challenges. Not every group. This group had a lot of juniors in it. There's going to be groups that have more 7th graders and 8th graders in it. We're going to see how it goes. Next week topic, they're talking about vices. And I know for sure one student's talking about pornography. And so I'm going to have to work with that kid to make sure it's done and handled well, because it can be really awkward talking about pornography in student ministry, but it's a much needed discussion. So I'm super excited about where this is going, what's happening, and how the kids are responding to it. But we'll see how it goes. I'll be here next week to tell you what happens in week 2 of You on the Wednesday. If you have any questions, let me know. Hit me up on Twitter and Instagram or wherever. Find me on Facebook. God bless you guys. Thanks for commenting on all the stuff. I'll see you next week.